All right.
How
What
do
you
you,
got for me?
how do you prepare for just the explosiveness of their offense? They have so many big plays usually under their belts.
Yeah, I think so much, and you've heard me talk about this, Tommy, that it comes down to preparing for situational football a lot. Obviously, the tempo we can try to replicate to the best of our ability because we'll play that way at times. But, it's just hard. It's hard because of what they do and certainly the skill that they have in abundance and how they use it. But I still think in preparation and detail of playing a team that uses high tempo and certainly gets a lot of snaps a game, situational football becomes imperative to have success.
Did Tangamoa play in the last game? I didn't see him on
I
the.
think he got, I think he got 2 reps last week. Nothing wrong with Camilo. But obviously with playing a 3-man front, some of those guys reps just a little bit slighter than it was, the week before.
I know you talked about it a little on Monday, but how much does the offense change depending on who's playing quarterback? I know Mahomes does one thing and Shimanek. Is he different at all, or is it really look about identical?
Yeah, I think it's so identical. At Cliff's, knowing him back to Houston and watching his offense and him develop quarterbacks, I think that's the one thing is why they have a lot of success is because there is so much consistency to what they do in terms of, structure, how they try to attack the field. And, obviously, this young man's been really impressive. He's a senior. He's been involved in the system for a while. Came in and played a lot against us a year ago. But, no, he's really impressive. He looks like a senior quarterback in their system, and I think that's why they're having so much success.
One thing I meant to ask you on Monday, what'd you think about how Zeb ended up playing in those snaps they got?
Yeah, I think it was really rewarding for Zeb and B for our staff to watch his growth. I think he's been, it's been really fun to watch him really start to come into his own even in practice. And I think you continue to see him grow and, that the play he has where he scrambles out of the pocket and makes the throw to Sheldon, some of the long balls down the sideline. It's great to see him do that. That's him at his best. And I think you're only going to see his confidence grow, but great for him to get a quarter of play and really come in and do some great things.
How big was that win over them last year in building into this season? Just all phases, kind of, to put that type of.
I just think that game there were so many different variables. The weather, Mahomes getting hurt early in the game. But I think from our end, obviously, winning a game was really important. Winning one at home against a conference opponent was important. But I still think this. I think so many of those losses were so much more of a great learning experience for us and understanding why we weren't winning games and why those games were close and we were still having some success within them, but then losing those games at the end of the game or in the third or fourth quarter. I think that was such a great learning experience for this team. But, obviously anytime you win a game, that's great. But I still go back to those tough losses. I think those were imperative to at least us being able to have some success at the start of this season.
How did the two close losses this year kind of, because at some point guys stop beating up and maybe go, ugh.
Yeah, I think those 2 losses this season were different than what we dealt with a year ago, where last year there was a point where, things started to turn and we could never turn the tide back our way, and there was never those tools or that foundation behind us to say, we worked really hard for this, this is what we did, and that was never there. And that's why I said last year we deserved to lose some of those games because we didn't have the fortitude and, kind of the discipline to go back to that, where this year you saw us kept grinding in those games and kept fighting, and we never lost and we bounced back and, back and forth. But I think those 2 games, what those 2 games early in the season did for us, that said, hey, listen, attitude and effort's not just enough. Detail and attention to detail. If you want to beat teams that have that kind of talent, then you have to have the ability. Our margin for error is really small. We have to do a great job with attention to detail, and I think that's really allowed us, the last couple games to really hone in on what does it take for us to win football games, especially in the Big 12.
How have you guys been able to cut down penalties too? Because it seemed like last season that was something that you just constantly kept stubbing yourself in the foot.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the attention to detail piece, and I think the second piece is a little bit of really comfortable comfortable in the scheme. You know, some of those last year were pre-snap penalties, false starts, it's a lot of different things, and that's nature of the business a little bit when you're putting new offenses, new defenses in. But, you know, I just think the discipline of our football team's so much better this year than it was a year ago. And, you know, I think a lot of that goes to player ownership. I think a lot of that goes to how we practice and the attention to detail within practice. But, you know, that's what I'd attribute that to more than anything.
How much has that helped maybe allow you to grow offensively and defensively and just get into overall game rhythm?
Yeah, I mean, you and I know this. Again, our margin for error even today is not very good. And, you know, if we go into a game and there are those penalties, our chances for success go way down. And, you know, I think we understand that. We know that. And that's, again, why, you know, I think you really look at our own process, how we practice and how we prepare is so critical to our success because we don't have that margin for error. We're not going to be the team that, you know, beats itself and we just get lucky and we win a game. We're just not good enough to do that. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at, and I think our kids understanding that's really big right now.
Is that kind of the same thing with turnovers too? I mean, what's been the key to kind of helping generate that? Because it almost kind of seems a little bit like the same.
Yeah, it is the same thing. You know, I think our ability to take care of the football, our ability to really hone in on defensively how critical those turnovers can be to our own success, and you know, really playing games where you're making a big deal about that. And you know, that's not just Iowa State. You look across the board at every conference in the country, the people that are up towards the top of the conference are the ones that are doing a great job taking care of the football and creating turnovers. And you know, it's like that cliche term, you know, like turnover margin, but at the end of the year, it's that term, it's that statistic over anything else that really decides winning and losing. And I think our kids have bought into that and really understand that. And again, we practice that every day. That's not something that, you know, we hope to go out on Saturday and hope that it happens. We put time, effort into those details to try to be really good at that when it comes to Saturday.
How intense are those win the 12 drills? Because I've heard even you at times get involved and try to knock the ball loose.
Well, yeah, that's my job. I still think I have some athletic ability, you know, but you know, it just, to me, it's that opportunity to showcase, you know, this is really important, and that's why the drill's called that, win the 12. You know, it's kind of maximize those opportunities for attention to detail items that sometimes can waver when you don't put an emphasis on it. And I think those are some of the most intense drills we do during our Tuesday and Wednesday practice, and you see guys get after it, and you see our coaches get after it.
We've talked about Kyle's unflappable demeanor being important. How much does having 5-6 guys who could probably be 100-yard receiving guy in a game help with that process?
Yeah, I think that's really big, you know, and I think the opportunity that he's got to where he's got playmakers, you know, and really at a lot of areas, the wide receiver spot, you know, with Chase Allen, some of those guys starting to come on right now, and certainly in our backfield with David and Mike. And so, you know, he doesn't have to go win the game by himself. He's just got to do a really good job of making great decisions, and that's his niche. You know, he's a great decision maker, especially in the heat of the moment. And, you know, if he continues to do that, then he'll continue to play at a really high rate.
Going back to turnovers, does Texas Tech